Recording.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. If you can come on in, feel free to turn your camera on if you'd like. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. Oh, hi, Waldo. um, Perfect. You don't need to turn it on, but if you can, that's great. It's always good to see faces. But I'm Kate, and I'm excited to meet you all and talk about resumes. I wanted to, so first of all, I'm Kate. I'm one of the career coaches with PathStream and I work with the Amazon students. We also have Emily, who is our operations person. So she will also be involved helping me out with the Q&A tonight. And she's the master behind the scene when you email the career services email address. Emily's usually manning that, womaning that. And and then Lesha is also on. She's just observing, but she is our director of career service operations.
Hi,
So
everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight.
awesome. And I see several cameras on, which is awesome. Thank you guys. It's always better to present when I can see people's faces. Perfect. Well, I want to start with an icebreaker. So I'm just going to throw this up for you and you can put it in the chat. But if you could put your full name in the chat, your location. And I always think this is fun working with Amazon because sometimes you might find out somebody else on the call is in your market. And then what program you're in, either sales ops or data, and then your favorite emoji. So if you want to do that while we're just kind of waiting to get started, we should get started really soon. Thank you, Manny, for putting your name in there. Perfect. Kentucky. Data analyst. Thank you all for doing that. That's always fun to see where everyone's coming from. And it looks like a couple other people are still trying to get in. So while you all are doing that, we'll make sure everybody's in. Got someone from New Jersey, Waldo, it looks like. So far, Kentucky. Well, I guess I should tell you, I'm from Minneapolis. So that's where I'm calling in or joining you from. Emily. Emily's in San Francisco. Oh, your favorite emoji. Good. I should put mine in. I'm going to do that. It's a good one, Emily.
Thank you. It's also in theme with Halloween.
Anybody else have a favorite emoji? No one else has put one in yet. All right. Oh, I like that. Aprana. That's cute. Aprana's from Michigan, data analyst. We got a lot of data analysts. California, Oxnard. Where is Oxnard? Emily, do you know? Or Alondra, do you want to tell me? I don't know where that is. And you like crying. Okay. Interesting. That's great. I put in a robot. All right. Should I? Oh, Malibu and Santa Monica. Very cool. Should I just get started, Emily? Do you think everybody's in?
Just pick it off.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. And Alan from Texas. Awesome. So we have people from all over. So thank you guys for getting on at this time because some of you it's later in the day and some of you it's not. So it's really good to have all of you on here. So like I said, I'm gonna go through we're gonna talk about resumes tonight, and I'm going to go through just our format that we use for resumes and kind of go through some best practices. So let me move my slide forward. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk about the format, the different resume sections, then next steps of how you can keep working with us, as well as any questions. You can also ask questions throughout. I just realized something that I can't see my notes, so let me go back. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Now I'm ready. All right. So, first of all, I wanted to, so if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and Emily will be watching that, as well as feel free to raise your hand. We got a small group. So I'd love to hear from you directly as well. So yeah, so today we're going to talk about upgrading or creating your resume and give you some specific steps to get started on that process. I want to do something first in the reactions part of Zoom, and that's where you can raise your hand if you want to kind of familiarize yourself with that if you've not used it before. But there is also a place that there's a thumbs up icon. If you have a resume, put a thumbs up. If you don't have a resume, that's fine, but just don't do it. And then if you think your resume is perfect and no changes are needed, do a hand clap. Just give me an idea of how confident everyone is their resume and if you even have one. So while you all are thinking about that, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So first of all, we're going to talk about format. Resumes in general are super subjective. So there's not an absolute correct way to do a resume. But we have best practices from our experience as career coaches. So we want to give you a kind of a recommendation in terms of the format for students out of our program. So after this meeting, you will receive an email from the Pastoring Career Services tomorrow morning with that recommended format. We'll also share it at the end if you want to grab it then as well. But it'll give you, I'll give you a brief look at example, and then we'll spend some time breaking down the details of that resume. So let me just go back here. So can you see this resume here? Perfect. So this is just a really basic example of a data analyst resume. Again, I'm going to go through this much more detailed, but this is generally what we look at. Okay. So to start out, just some best practices for the format. A clean format works really well. You want to make sure there's minimal design elements and just make it really easy to read and find the most important information quickly. I don't know if you guys know this, but recruiters and hiring managers, does anyone have a guess of how long they would look at your resume manually with their eyes? Does anyone have a guess? Want to raise their hand or put it in the chat?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, that's a good guess. Anybody else? 30 seconds, yep. So it's actually about a few seconds. It's probably less than 30 seconds. Of course, everyone's different, but typically they do look at them, but it's gonna be very quick. So that's why it's really important to have your resume being clean, simple, easy, user-friendly. You want to make it as easy for people to find the right information and the most important information as possible. So 30 seconds actually I think would be good. I'd be happy with 30 seconds. So this template you can use this to write your resume from scratch, or if you already have one, you can transfer the information to that, to using that format. Don't have to use this exact format, but this is a great way we recommend kind of getting started. Best practices to make sure your format is going to be easy to read and to get information from. So resumes also are typically no more than 2 pages. There's been in the past like this push of it has to be 1 page, but I have seen people then make their margins really weird because of that. And so I just highly recommend 2 pages is fine, especially if you have a lot of experience, but put the most important stuff on the first page. And we recommend using 1-inch margins. So there's plenty of room. Otherwise, it's just really hard to read. And again, you want to make it as easy to read as possible. And then this is our recommended layout for the headings, which we'll go through each one individually. You can change these depending on your goals and experience, but that's something too, like working with a career coach will help you figure out how to best present the information. But generally this works for most people. And so, yeah, we have the header, the summary, skills and projects. Projects typically is more for the data analyst students. So if you're in sales ops, you probably won't have this, but we're not going to go over it in detail today. I just wanted to mention that it's there. And then experience and education and certifications. Anyone have any questions so far? We're going to move on to the resume sections and resume header. So I've laid out the what needs to be on that as well as a header. And it's interesting. People that have been in the industry for a long time still don't know what's supposed to be on a header, and it changes with technology and things like that. So this is what we recommend: the first name and last name. We don't recommend putting your full mailing address on your resume. That is something that has been changing over the years, so you might not have been aware of that, but a lot of that's for privacy reasons. So don't recommend putting your full mailing address on there, but I do recommend putting your city, state, and zip code. And part of that is because even if you're applying for remote jobs, some remote jobs have different states that they can hire from, that they can't hire from. And so having that information will help move your application along better. Sometimes if they get a ton of applications and one of them doesn't have a location and they have to figure that out or contact the person, they'll just put it to the side and go along with all the ones that actually have the information on it. So highly recommend putting that on there just for ease of applying. Make sure your current phone number is on there with area code. And one big thing, this is from my own personal experience as a career coach, I recommend do not change your phone number until your job search is done. I've had students change their phone number and then never update it, and we have no idea if anyone's trying to reach out to them. So just make sure you do that, or if you change your phone number, change that as soon as possible on your resume. Be sure you have your voicemail set up, the message is professional, and that you're checking your texts and voicemails on a daily basis so that you don't miss any requests or conversations. Same thing goes for email. And the email we recommend being hyperlinked like this, so you can click right through. But same thing, make sure it's professional, and don't recommend changing it. But if you do, make sure it's forwarded, you're still checking it. That one's less of a concern than the email or than the phone number, but still make sure you're using the one that you're going to be checking. And yeah, and make sure you're checking at least daily to make sure you don't miss any requests. Sometimes when people are applying a lot, they get a lot of messages, so it's a little tough, but you want to try to stay on top of that by checking at least daily. Let's see. And then we have your LinkedIn profile. So this is kind of standard now. If you don't have a LinkedIn, you probably should look into getting a LinkedIn. And that is something that we can help you on the career coaching side as well. So your career coach can help you with that. But if you do have one, we recommend putting that link on here and hyperlinking it so it can go right through. You can also make a custom URL so it looks really clean on the resume. Again, career coach can help you with that if you don't know how to do it. Basically what it does is a normal one would have like a ton of like junk on like numbers and things like that, and that's hard to enter in if the hyperlink doesn't work. So that is generally it. Any questions on the header? Anything surprising or confusing? All right, all clear. All right, now we get to the hardest part, is the summary. So this is usually first in your resume after the header, but we recommend writing this at the end. So doing all the other updates to your resume, getting all your experience laid out and your education laid out, and then come back to this. So mainly because all that content is going to help you write this. This is going to be a really high level understanding of who you are, what your key skills are, and your ambition and desired goal. And that really helps, again, when these hiring managers or recruiters are looking at your resume quickly. They can see a very short little sentence at the top that they might read or glance at and at least see some information. So I would also recommend working with a career coach on writing these as well. But the format we send out will have a lot of this information on it to help you as well. So I should mention too, a lot of this information will be on your format. So if you're taking notes, great, but a lot of this will be available to you. So a summary is basically a brief high-level overview tailored to the job you're applying for. So including keywords from the job posting. And I'll show you some examples because it'll make more sense then. But this is the little format we like to use that makes it kind of simple. So sentence 1 is start with who you are, briefly describe your current role or field of study. Sentence 2 is highlight your key skills, mention 2 to 3 skills relevant to the job. So this is where you might customize this depending on the job you're applying for. So this might change depending on the job you're applying for. And then for sentence 3, you show your ambition and desired goal, describe what you want to achieve in your next role. So some of you might remember objective. I feel like sentence 3 is a little more like the objective, but we more focus on selling ourselves now and then still sharing what kind of job we're looking for, as opposed to doing an objective, which is an older way of doing resumes. So any skills and experience you include in here should be evidenced in your experience or education sections. And the same thing, if you're going to talk about it in your interview, you need to have all that information available to point to on your resume for the recruiter or hiring manager to look at. So let's do some examples because I think this will make more sense. So first we have the sales operations 1. So if we go back and look at this, sentence 1, start with who you are, sales operations professional with a strong background in project management and customer service. Sentence 2 is key skills, managing customer relations, preparing for, and they're also getting a Salesforce certification. And then the goal or ambition is recently completed course in sales ops and Salesforce management and actively pursuing Salesforce administrator roles. So again, this is just an example. It doesn't mean, everyone who's in sales ops needs to have something just like this. You might not be looking for Salesforce administrator specific jobs, but this is just an example. I know a lot of you sounded like you were data. So this is an example we have for data. First sentence, NYU certified data analyst with a background in computer engineering and operations. That's who the person is. Demonstrated ability to enhance business strategies, optimize processes, and drive data-driven decisions. Those are key skills. And then leveraging experience with industry leaders like Amazon and Shell to transition from operations to analytics. So they're showing where they're trying to go. So like I said, this is probably the hardest part of a resume. So, a career coach is definitely helpful in doing these. There's also lots of great articles online and things like that. But again, it's subjective, so you can get a lot of different information on this. So this is just kind of a simple format we recommend when doing a resume. Any questions on that so far? Now skills, we're just going to move through these. I'm not going to go into super detail on these, but these are the skills that we recommend you have on your resume based on the course you took. So these are the skills we hope you gained in sales operations, and these are the skills we hoped you gained in data analysis. You can, of course, adjust these and add additional skills that you think would be valuable to your job search. Sometimes you might change these depending on the job you're applying for too, but generally, these are kind of the ones we recommend you have on there. So an example for adding them is, if you go back, this person has strong project management, customer service skills. So that might be, that might be something to add on here as customer service. Same with the data one. I don't know why I'm saying she and he, but that person had operations and computer engineering background. So that could be added onto here. So we want to make sure you're making it unique to yourself while still using, you know, these basic skills that we hope you got from the program. And again, this will all be included in your specific resume format. All right. Okay, experience. This is probably the second hardest part. Because once we talk about the resume bullets. So the layout is pretty simple. You have a job title, an organization, city, state, or if it's remote, you can put that too. And then a start, end date, month, and year. Really important that you use the same format throughout the resume for each job, and make sure you have all the points. I've seen several resumes where the first two are perfect and then the next one doesn't have the organization name or the job title, you know, so just making sure you're really checking all those boxes to make it look professional and clean. Here are just two examples of job description bullets, but we're going to talk in the next slide much more in depth about that. So we'll come back to these, but this is a general look of how that should look. We recommend 3 to 5 bullets per job description, approximately. If you want to have 6, it's probably not the end of the world. Just kind of depends too how long they are. This one's 2 lines, this one's almost 3 or a little over 3 lines. You know, if they're going to be all 5 lines, you probably don't want 6 or 7 on here. But generally that's what we recommend. Also recommend to include the last 10 years of your professional experience. So if you have a lot of experience, you don't need to put everything on here, because again, we'd like to keep it to 2 pages. It's just too much information for anyone to get through, and we want to make it as easy as possible to find the right information. So again, you can talk with a career coach about what to put on there or not. Sometimes you won't even need full 10 years. You can go back a couple years and fill up 2 pages and have good information. But I wouldn't go much past 10 years. All right, so the bullets. So for the job description bullets, we recommend using this format. It's called the Task Tool Result Framework. And what this does is really help flesh out bullets. A lot of times I see tasks listed, but no details. So provided great customer service. That's great, but what does that mean? How did you do that? That's kind of what we're trying to figure out. So here's an example laid out. So the task is monitored budgets, actuals against forecasts to prevent overages. And then they used Excel, so that's their tool. And sometimes it's not like a hard tool, but in this case it is. And then the result is resulting in all projects finishing 5% under budget forecasts. So the result is super important, because that's the why. Like, why, how did what you did help the company, help the department, help the bottom line? And it also gives more metrics to it. So anytime you can add metrics into these, it just helps the managers and the recruiters understand more about the details of what you did. You also want to make sure you're using transferable skills that could be applicable to the new job you're applying for. So if job description requires management skills, write a sentence using the task to result framework that describes your management skills at a company. So if you said managed a team, first of all, I'd love to hear how big the team is, but manage a team of 20 or a team of 5, that's fine, but just give us an idea of how big or small it is. And then how did you manage that? Maybe you used strong communication in project management or, something like that. And then how was the team successful? That would be your result. So that is an example of how you would do that. Just going back on these two, conducted comprehensive audits, and that's the task, utilizing data management systems to monitor and enhance warehouse performance. That is the tool. Achieving I didn't put the number in there, but achieving a percentage monthly reduction in false pick, short, and damaged items. So that's a really good example. Delivered outstanding customer service is the task. Addressing inquiries and resolving issues promptly, that is the tool. So that's a great example of a less hard tool, a soft tool. And then culminating in this percentage of customer satisfaction rating and consistent positive feedback. And this again is a great example of why the numbers are important. If I say culminating in constant and consistent positive feedback, that's great. But if I can say culminating in this percentage of customer satisfaction rating and consistent positive feedback, it just means a lot more. And it gives them an understanding that you know what your work meant. So at Amazon, I know there are a lot of metrics. So hopefully you guys have that kind of stuff that you can use for your Amazon job and previous jobs. You also can guesstimate. Usually, it might be an average or kind of an idea of what you might have done. But if you can do it as actual as possible, that would be ideal. Any questions on that one? That's a lot. Okay, you guys are quiet. If you have questions later. Is this a lot of information to take in, or how are you guys feeling? Waldo, are you doing good? Okay. Awesome. I just grabbed you because you were the first one that turned your camera on. All right, now we're on to education. So this lays out if you did like a bachelor's degree, you could do an associate's, or even something that's not as formal as that, but this is how we would lay it out. So making sure it depends on if you completed a degree or if it's incomplete or you're currently pursuing. So if your degree is complete, you've graduated, you've moved on, university or school name here, then degree name and area of study. So bachelor's of science, it could be associates of science, arts, whatever, in, biology, let's say, I don't know. And then the month and year you graduated. If you're incomplete, maybe you took some courses, but never completed anything, or never completed a degree, or you could be currently pursuing it. If you're actively pursuing it, this would be the format you use as well. So we have university name, completed X credit hours toward, let's say, bachelor's of science in biology, right? And then you have the month and years that you've attended. If you are kind of tracking an expected graduation date, you could put month, year, and then expected what that is. Sometimes people don't know that, but if you do know that or have an idea, that might be helpful too, just so someone knows when you might be done. Perfect. And then we're just gonna go through the certification section, and that's where you're gonna see more of the past stream stuff. So here we are. So again, this will be included in the formats you receive, but this lays out how we would do these as certifications, and you can use these same formats if you do different certifications. And you may not have all the details, but we have written out bullets about what you did in the program, and then also what courses you completed in the program. And then again, we have the title of the certificate, the name, so it could be like if a university is involved, or if not, you could just put path stream. And location, you could put remote if it's all online. If not, you can put the location. And then month started, year, month, year. All right. Any questions on anything I've gone over so far? Okay. So that was just a very high level overview. I don't expect you all to remember that, but that's kind of what you're going to see when you get the format sent to you, to give you an idea of where to get started on your resume. This is something you can work on before you meet with your coach, or you can meet with your coach first and then work on it. It doesn't necessarily matter, but it's just giving you that information so you can get started on that. So next steps, we recommend, again, using that existing resume, or start from scratch to fill out the template. That template will come by email from this email address, and just know that this email address is, if you have any questions on anything career related, please use this email address. So bookmark that, make sure you know where that is. So if you're like, I don't have a coach, I don't know what you're talking about a coach, email that, and just say, hey, I'm signed up for a coach, and we will help you with that. If you're like, oh my gosh, I have an interview out of the blue, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I've not even met a coach yet, just email that, and we will help you with that as best we can. But this will be where the template comes from. And then we also recommend, after you've filled out the resume template, book a call. You can also book a call before you fill out the resume template. Totally fine. We can help get you started and then move on to the resume, but you can book a call with your coach to go over the resume. If you don't have a coach yet, email this email again, to get started. And I believe Emily has been sending you all should have gotten a private message with the information about your coach and a Calendly link to sign up. So if anybody did not receive one of those, feel free to raise your hand or put that information in the chat. But hopefully that's helpful to you all. And if you could save that, then you have that information moving forward. And then once you set up an appointment and get your resume together, you'll meet with your coach to refine that resume and start applying for jobs with that new resume. Just out of curiosity, is anyone met with a coach yet in this group? If you have, put your hand up. Think. Oh, Waldo, you have? Great.
I
Awesome.
think you people have more than Waldo. No, you don't need to share, but yeah, curious. Yeah, if anyone's willing to share how has your call been? I guess actually I'll change it. What has your coach helped you with?
Yeah. Does anyone want to share? Waldo, I'm going to pick on you. And feel free, if you want to just talk, you can go off mute. Anybody else want to share what they've gotten from their coach if they met with one? All right, well, while you're thinking, oh, go ahead, Emily.
I was just gonna say, yes, I'll send the sample resumes in momentarily. But in case you're not familiar with our coaches and our coaching services, or you would like a reminder, our coaches can help you really with anything job search related. So most often the first call is just getting to know you, figuring out what your career goals are, refining your job search strategy. And then you'll kind of go through our process where the next process is, or the next step in the process is working on your resume, which obviously we've just been learning a lot about. And then after you finish your resume, we'll suggest that you update your LinkedIn. And the main difference between your LinkedIn and your resume is LinkedIn is much more public. So we might want it to be a little bit more general than your resume, because your resume, we want it to be tailored towards the specific jobs that you're applying to. And your coach, when you're in your LinkedIn and resume review call, your coach will tell you much more than what I'm giving right now. And then the other service that we have that a lot of students take advantage of is a mock interview. And this is just a time and place to really just perfect the tell me about yourself question, to go through technical questions if you're a data student, and also just like general questions. It could be, tell me about a time that you did blah blah blah. So again, this is just a safe space to practice for an interview. And you'll get live feedback during the call, and you might get some written feedback as well after the call, whatever you find helpful. But when students go through all kind of these 4 steps that I've just outlined, and there can be much more than these 4, but when students go through these 4 steps, they're much more likely to kind of feel more confident and land a job quicker, because you have that support. And the job search is hard, so it's nice to have. I mean, Kate is one of our coaches, and she's coached hundreds and hundreds of Amazon students. So like, it's so nice to have someone to just bounce ideas off of, to say, hey, what do you think about this job? Or even just to, I'm feeling discouraged. I need a pick me up. So I think that's a little bit of what our coaches do. If you haven't worked with a coach in a while, or you're new to career coaching, does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, I will put while I have the mic, I will put the first link that I'm putting in the chat is the data analytics resume template. Just note that you will have to make a copy of it. So there's instructions on how to make a copy of it at the top. And then this next link is the sales ops template. So I put that. Thank you, Kate, for adding in data. So there are the 2 resume templates, and we'll also send this out via email tomorrow as well.
Perfect. And I was going to say too, like, once you're done with those steps that Emily talked about, we're still here to support you with whatever you need help with after that. So, everybody has different strengths and weaknesses or experience. And so whatever you need help with, that's kind of what we're here to do. So yeah, like I said, every every student I work with is different, but every Amazon student in particular is different in what they're trying to do, whether they're trying to move up within Amazon, move to a different position, get back into something maybe they've done. It really is all over the place. But we really want to get to know the student, and that's why we recommend you kind of have that coach that you keep working with, because then they're gonna know you and know how to help you succeed eventually in the job search. But as Emily said, right now it is tough out there. So a lot of times I'm just helping keep people positive and thinking of new ideas, new ways we can find jobs or apply for jobs or network, all those types of things.
Yeah, let's actually, I sent everyone, I see we have 1 question, but I would like to take a couple minutes just to make sure that you have time to sign up for a coaching call, because I don't think any of you have upcoming coaching calls. So I just want to, now is a good time. The link is in in the chat. I sent each of you private messages with the link. So if you could take a minute now to schedule a call for, let's say, next week, after you have a little bit of time to process this information. And also, like, again, like, you don't need to have anything done for your resume. You can just bring this workshop and these resume templates to your coach, and your coach will be able to pick up whatever you bring with them, whether you don't have anything or whether you already have a solid draft.
And I might be repeating what you just said because I zoned out for just a second. But if you don't have your resume, I think you said this, right? You can still sign up for a call. Don't feel like you have to do your resume first. You feel free to sign up even if you're not there yet. Was that repeating?
I'm also just chiming in here because I've just gotten a ton of requests for editor access to the resume template. So I would encourage you all to reach that top line of instruction. We won't be giving editor access to the document because that gives you access to the main document. So if you can just click on file and then make a copy, you're able to make a copy and then you will have edit access to that.
I can actually, Kate, if I can
I
share
just-
my screen really quick, I'll just.
Yeah. I just wrote that in there too, but
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna share my screen and just show how to do that. So just, it's what Lesha was just talking about. So you'll just do file, make a copy, and then you can save it, name it whatever you want, but then this will just save to your computer or your Google Drive. And Kate, we have one question. And do we have any particular sites or job portals to apply for remote jobs?
that is a great question. I can definitely give you some of the ones I like to use, but I think working with the coach would be really helpful for that to get more details on which ones make the most sense for you. I also want to say that if you are new to whatever you're trying to move into, remote jobs can be a possibility, but the competition is much stiffer. So just want to say that in case that if that's what you need to have, that's fine, but it might take you much longer, or you might need extra help making sure you stand out. Because if you're applying for a remote job for anywhere in the US, the competition, these recruiters that I used to work with would get thousands of resumes in like a very short amount of time. And there's just no way they actually look at them all. They can't. And it's hard for them because they don't want to feel like they would leaving good talent out there, but they can't physically do it. So, and I don't know if you guys have suggestions as well, but the ones, LinkedIn, you could definitely do remote on there. It's gotten a lot better than it used to be to use that. But I really like remote.co. That's one I use a lot. And mainly I use it because I used to be a recruiter. I worked for a company called Aquint, and Aquint posts jobs on there all the time. And so that's what makes me feel like, okay, this is a reputable job, right? Yeah, same too. I also really like Power to Fly. They have they don't just have remote jobs, but you can make it to just do remote. I'm trying to think what else. There's so many. Remotive.com is another one I've used. But it really depends on exactly what you're looking for. So I actually found recently a bank, basically it's a spreadsheet that someone shared on LinkedIn that has how all these different places, like a bank of how to apply to startup jobs, which is really cool. So another site that's good for startup jobs is wellfound.com. Wellfound, that used to be AngelList Talent, but it's called Wellfound now. Built-in is another good one. Again, there's so many, and there's so many people on LinkedIn or other places who are sharing the ones they use. So it's kind of more deciding which ones make sense to you. But again, they're not going to have as many jobs constantly coming up as like a LinkedIn or Indeed necessarily. Maybe something like Power to Fly would, but but if you're doing remote, it wouldn't necessarily. So hopefully that helps. Those are some of my ideas.
The other thing, yeah, Kate, that was great. And yeah, you have so much, a wealth of knowledge about where to apply for jobs. The other thing that I want to share, and we can share this tomorrow in the email that I send, but we have a job search checklist. We have two here, one the sales ops one and a data analytics one. They're very similar, but just a little more tailored based on the certificate that you completed. But I wanted to bring this up to make sure all of you have this and all of you know about this. But this is our checklist, really, just to make sure that we send to students and all of you to make sure, or do they provide tips along the way to help aid your job search. And I realize this can look like a lot. So as Kate has said a couple times, like just work with your career coach. You can have one call to talk about each one of these things up here at the top. So like you have time, like you don't have to do all of these things in a day or in a week. But I thought of this as we are answering that question because there's some job boards and places to look for jobs down at the bottom. So whether you're still working at Amazon and looking for a job internally at Amazon, and then there's just general job boards, and some of the ones that Kate listed are actually not all on here, but there's so many out there. And the others that I would recommend for job boards is kind of a different path or just a different direction temporarily, as you can also go through staffing agencies or volunteer kind of project-based opportunities. And these are really good way to practice your skills. Some are paid, some are unpaid, but this is another way that you can practice using the skills that you've learned or just get more project-based or project like apply more of the things that you've learned. And Parker Dewey is one of our partners, so like you can, but we recommend like any of these are great. And I would recommend like talking to your coach about any of these because these are really good kind of foot in the door. Some of them can lead to full-time jobs. Some of them, these can just be added under the project section that Kate was talking about earlier. I think, yeah, under here, where did the project section go? I think it's
Oh, that might be the wrong. Yeah, there it is.
yeah, so you can add the project, there's a project section here, so you can just add, if you do go this route, you can add the project information there. So, Kate, anything to add to that? But I'll put these.
No, I mean, well, yes. Well, first of all, Parker Dewey does do specific micro internships for Amazon Career Choice. I think we just had one and it's over now, but when they do it again, you will get an email from us with that. So definitely take advantage of that. Talk to your coach. I helped a student this week do that. She was like, I didn't know this existed. And she's super interested because she's doing a part-time job right now. So it just kind of helps have something extra to do. And then staffing firms, I was a staffing recruiter, so very familiar with that. It is a complicated world, but a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to work for a staffing firm. But depending on the company, and especially if we're talking about large organizations, it's really hard to get into that company without going through a staffing firm first. So I can talk about this all day, but basically, it's a lot of companies have money set aside for contingent workforce, which are from staffing firms, and those are going to be contracts. And usually when they go to hire a permanent position, they go to those contractors they already know and have working on site. So they would be working on site at the organization, on the team. They may not even know who's a contractor and who's not. But I've helped several students. But the main two companies that I worked for when I was a recruiter were Best Buy and Target, which are both headquartered in Minneapolis. And Best Buy, well, both of them did this, but Best Buy in particular had a huge program, and I had multiple students or multiple candidates, I guess, who got hired after doing a contract for a year, 9 months. It really depends. Ended up being full-time employees. But, there were people, I had one student who had a full-time job that paid less, had an offer from Best Buy as a contract, was really like, I don't know if I want to do contract. He ended up doing it, was so happy because first of all, he got paid more, and he ended up getting hired within the year, first year, as a employee of Best Buy. So sometimes they get a bad rep because people are like, oh, I don't want to make a contract, but sometimes that's the best way to get your foot in the door. All right, any other questions or thoughts? And Emily, I see, has put the checklists in here, so you can grab those as well. Has anyone felt that this was helpful? Be thumbs up or a reaction of some sort if you want.
I'll add another question. Would future sessions like this be helpful? We're trying to think about engagement programming. Obviously, we want to be mindful of schedules. We know everyone is very busy, but we sometimes find that these opportunities give you all kind of a way to recheck in with us, recheck in with each other, kind of be a little bit more forward moving in your progress. But is live programming something that you're interested in, or would you just prefer us to be sending you all resources and leaving you to your own devices? We're happy to do all of that if that's what works best for you. We don't think it's the best way forward. We want you to be engaging with our coaches and having that support on the job search, but it really would be helpful, for any feedback that you all have. If you think live programming is something we should continue doing for Pathstream certificate completers.
We did get a heart from Prana, so hopefully that means she enjoyed it. I would say too, like getting this free career coaching is like so awesome because it is free to use. So it's something that people pay for, so it's great that Amazon works with organizations like us to help give you guys that access, and we're here to help you. We just want to help you succeed in whatever job you want, and basically we're here to help you find that job or get that promotion, whatever you're kind of hoping to achieve. We're here to help you. Perfect. Is anyone assigned to me? Does anyone want to share? You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just curious. Don't recognize anybody's name.
Kate, I don't think
Yeah, I didn't think so.
it's here assigned to you, but there were a couple people that are scheduling their first call, so they could get assigned to you.
Cool. Well, happy to help either way. All right, well, it looks like we've lost some people.
I also just want to share before we wrap things up. I know we're running up close to the hour, but piggybacking off of Lesha's comment on live programming, we do have 2 more live events upcoming over the next month. So we would love for all of you to be there. We have an alumni panel. We will be featuring a couple Pathstream alum who have got new jobs, and they're going to tell us a little bit more about where they work and also how they got their new job. And then we'll have one more event in early November about job searching especially around the holidays and when you have busy schedules, especially with peak around the corner. So we are excited to offer those 2 events, and you'll receive emails about this in the coming weeks. So whenever you see that, block your calendar because we'd love to see you all again. So,
Awesome. Those sound great. I assume it's Amazon alumni.
Yeah, these are
Couple of
separate.
Amazon alumni who've gone on to roles at outside external organizations, and we're targeting some of our alums who have internal Amazon roles, but we're just waiting to confirm the final panelist list, which we'll share once that is ready.
Awesome. Very cool.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. It's so good to meet you. Kate, thank you so much for facilitating.
Thank you
Any
so
last minute remarks before we wrap it up?
From me? No, just I'm excited for you all to get assigned a coach and moving forward with it. We'd love to meet you all and help you achieve your goals.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We'll be in touch tomorrow. Have a great evening, and we'll talk soon. So, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.